Johan, good to see you again. I hope you can hear me all right. Let me bring up the chat one moment, please. Yeah, hi, Ararat, Nicole, Oski, and so on. Somebody was trying to enter? No, we're all done. So, yeah, hi, everyone. Can you close the chat? No, I don't think I should close the chat. It's good to have the chat, right? So that we can communicate. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Young Jal, for confirming. Yeah, I can tell you, Sam, the thing is that the chat is in a small box when I open the classroom. So then I can somehow maximize it. If a class in honor of Spassky, yeah, good topic. I once analyzed with Spassky. It was a nice experience. I was doing some commentary and he was playing the tournament in my hometown, and it was nice to analyze with him. And so yeah, what a pity. A lot of nice games. He passed away recently. Exactly. Yeah, we will come to that. I will keep in mind Boris Spassky for sure. World champion number. Yeah, which number was Spassky? Which world champion number? Anyone? Or we don't. Yeah, 10 says Ryan, exactly. 11 sounds like Fischer, and 12 is Karpov, and 13 is Kasparov. Anyway, yeah, this is probably not my class, no? Rook takes e3, I guess they played, and b2. Some kind of... Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, you guys, it's probably something like that, right? Anyone, did you do this stuff last time? It's maybe from Coach Nate's class, right? Trade rooks and win. Oh, interesting. Trade rooks and win. And we bring in the king and we push the pawn. Oh, that's very clever. Yeah, I was only looking at the capture, of course. Nice, I understand. I'm the student now. We trade off the rooks and then we bring the king a little closer. We're inside the square and we queen. You did this already. Yeah, nice. Okay, so let's get going. Yeah, we will do this again. 1 or maximum 2 more classes. And we're done with our topic about Minefield. No, 4th class about into the Minefield. I think it's a very entertaining topic, but of course we should switch to other aspects of chess also very soon. So let's have a look. In this position, you can see Fogel with white, Genov with black. White is a pawn down, but white is fairly active. At this point, white played the move. They played a very active move. Please notice that we have some kind of 2 pawns hold up 3 on the queen side, right? Which compensates to some extent for white's minus pawn. And we can also see that white has a passed pawn on this side. Yeah, exactly, Pop Fischer. Yeah, you're a genius. You have understood what white played here. So white played at this point c4, taking the game into the Minefield. You're playing with the black pieces. And you can probably guess already what I am thinking of here. Let's see who can get this first. Interesting example. Yeah, I think we can do it up to that point. Will that be enough? There are a few different move orders, so I think that will be enough. Yeah, let's do it in 1 minute 30, all right? Everybody take your time. Should black enter that pawn endgame? After all, they're a pawn up. Or maybe it's not a good idea. He wants the knight takes d5, queen g8 stuff. Interesting, Kind King Sam. I see your point. Requiz, we have a winner. Wow, that's fantastic. You did it in only 15 seconds. Young Jial and Southak, I will, of course, claim that I can play h4 in that position, right, Southak? We have more winners. RKDK and Brian, you also got it. Yeah, very nice. That Apple, that's another winner. I think that works also, Nicole and Zachpan. If you want to play like that, sneaky move, you can do that too. Get into the square of the B pawn if you really need to. We have more winners. Ararat found it, so did Oski and Vish. If you go for the queen endgame, Chess Crusher, I think I still have some drawing chances. Now I have an active queen and I have an h-pawn that can run. Yeah, Lilia's move, I think it's okay also, but personally I would prefer to bring the king to the queen side because we might have some pawn break idea, right? And in that case, it's good to have the king on the b file. Nice. Anyone else? John Sam, I think that's also working, no? Your move is also fine. Many move orders in the end. That's why I cut it at move 5 or 6 or so. So consider yourself a winner also, John Sam. It's perfectly fine what you're saying. So nice. We had many winners here. Let's check with Requiz who was fastest. Please go ahead, Requiz. How did Black continue here? Black decided to enter the queen endgame. Sorry, the pawn endgame. White gave check. And of course, Black's idea was to trade queens. If you don't trade queens, I think White would take with this pawn so as to avoid the Black C pawn. And later on, White could try to push this H pawn to get some counterplay. Not so clear that Black can really win this. After all, a queen endgame is a different story. Now, if you have an active queen, you can do many things and so on. Okay, so queen e8, I have to take. Also, I'm just losing a full piece, so I have to take. At this point, Requiz, if I take with a C pawn, I think it's very easy to win, right? If I take with a C pawn, it's extremely simple. Exactly. This is something to remember. Now, many mistakes, I will write in the chat, many mistakes in pawn endgames due to lack of vision of pawn breaks. Now, pawn breaks are, creating a pass pawn. It's a little like breaking the rules when you do a pawn break. You're doing something you're not supposed to be able to, like put the pawn where it can be taken. That's, I think, why we sometimes miss this kind of opportunity. So you can see that Black is winning by, I think, 2 tempi here. 1, because this pawn is much faster than that pawn, and 2, because it's queenie with check also. So this is hopeless, of course. And that Fogge, he knew that, of course, when he took with the pawn. But it's always interesting to look into chess psychology. Now, I think White calculated, Fogge, in this case, the White player, calculated up to this point and said, I have winning chances now because I have 2 pass pawns, right? If you see what I mean. Yeah, you're right, Requiz. Maybe he just thought Black will play f5 and try to go e4, and I will win the game because I have 2 pass pawns which are separated. And their pawns are not dangerous. But he missed, of course, unlike many of you, he missed the move here, b5. So beautiful pawn break. White, we talked about this already. We cannot take like that. It's too far away. We must take like that. And we push the pawn. So those of you who said king d7, for instance, congratulations. That's also a winning move. I think Black wins by 2 tempi in this endgame. Though I would recommend you to play c4. You know why? I would say you don't play this move until they play b6. In trying to be logical. No, there is no reason really here to bring up the king. If White had the pawn maybe on h4, it would be a different story. Who knows? Maybe then I don't know. Anyway, let's continue. So c4, and what did White play here in the flexibility? Maybe you could say, yeah, but maybe in pawn endgames, well, there is some flexibility connected also, but not when we have this pawn races probably. King f1 was played in the game. b6 makes no big difference because, yeah, thanks, Requiz. b6 we can play king d7, exactly. So I'm following the moves in the game. King f1 was played, and they just continue. One thing here, somebody said, I think f5. Yeah, when was that? Yeah, if you said f5 here, we talked about it already, right? h4 is coming. But even here, you could play f5, but it's not necessary. Now, please notice, not necessary. The move f5 is irrelevant here, right? We don't need it because our goal is not to create a pass pair on the e file. Our goal is simply to create a pass pair on the f file where it's further away from White's king. So what happened here in the game? Yeah, they played king e1, and we all know what's happening next, right? Everybody knows that will lose. Maybe that will even lose. Yeah, exactly. e4 and White. Yeah, White is dead lost in every pawn race here. I can try something just for fun, but you can see that my pawns are too close to each other now. Requiz king can catch both pawns, exactly. And yeah, resignable. No, I don't know what you want me to play here. Take the pawn, and it's 1 pawn too much. I think you win by 2 tempo or 3 tempi or something like that. 2 tempi probably, if I went e5 and so on, right? Yeah, we understand this by now. There is no way Requiz can go wrong here in this endgame, right, Requiz? You have a pleasant choice between playing lonely queen or 2 queens versus 1 queen. Yeah, both choices are good, of course. So, yeah, anyway, you can play it in that way. Exactly. Nice. Okay, I think everybody understood this. What happened here is that white somehow took a too great a risk when they played c4. They should have played something else, like going back with the bishop or something. Keep the safer endgame with more pieces on the board. In this case, there wouldn't be a risk with b5 coming up, and they could start working on the h4, h5 plan. So that was a terrible mistake. But that's what's happening. This is a 2400 player with white, right? International master. So you can expect it from many players now. This can happen to all of us. Let's do one more quiz here just to make sure everybody understood this. Yeah, I think it will be enough up to that point. So you get only 20 seconds because you're very strong players. You don't need more time. This RKDK, Rick Quiz, Yugoslavian, Dad Apple, Pop Fisher, Ararat, Oski, Freya, Zach Pan, Nicole, Princess, Chess Crusher, Fianchetto, John Drip, Can King Sam, Brian, Jake, Skilled Saber. Lot of winners here. I'll pick one name. Skilled Saber, you appeared right in front of me. Please continue, Skilled Saber. It doesn't matter if you're slow, Nicole. It's fine as long as you get it. In your own games, you have more time on the clock, so there is no problem at all if you take some time. Skilled Saber, we're rating. Yeah, exactly. So we forced the pawn endgame, and what I think black had forgotten about in this case, sorry, white, they had forgotten about this fancy pawn break with b5. And also you can see that the fact that you have a more active king is very useful in the long run. So nice. Okay, we will continue. You played e4 first? I think there is no difference. Yeah, you can probably play that also. This should be the same. He didn't play that in the game, but I can't spot the difference. Yeah, you have the same idea coming up next time. Let's continue. We'll take our next example from South America. This example, we have an interesting endgame where my question here is, let's do it in a slightly different way, all right? In this game between with white Hemi and black Rodi, white was considering to play queen takes f5. So my question here is it okay to play queen takes f5 here? So maybe we should do it in a slightly different way. You should think about it a little, analyze a little, and you should tell me, okay or not okay. But you have to tell me why, of course, else it would just be some kind of... Why? Yeah, because if you might force a win with that move, right? Too risky, and since you give an example, it's not okay. Okay, advanced psychology. Rook f4, for sure, happy pawn. That's the reason why black even entered this in the first place. Can you force the fast pawn? Okay, I'll wait a little and maybe then we can do a quiz. I'll wait a little for somebody to try to understand this a little more. Black can reach in time. Okay, I understand our KDK. Backwards pawns are important. Yeah, probably. You can see that for white to have any chance of winning the pawn endgame, they are probably relying on the pass pawn on the a5, right? White wins there, actually. I think too risky, says Yugoslavia. Request gives a long line here. b4 is the key move. Interesting, says John Drip. You see? If I put myself in white's shoes, I mean, I can play other things. I can take the pawn. I can send my queen to attack that pawn maybe. But black still has a rook and two passed pawns. It would be fantastic if I could just finish off the game with a clear-cut variation in the pawn endgame. Would be very technical, no? Actually, queen takes f5 might win, says Princess. It works. Not good, but too much religion here. You need to give me some scientific arguments. Not only, I think it doesn't work. I think white's winning. They have more pawn moves. He gives us this example for a reason. King Sam is very psychological. Aha, that's not that important when you're sitting there in the tournament hall, no? Did the coach do this for this or that purpose? Wins, but hard to calculate. Yeah, I agree. If you're down to 5 minutes, it's probably better to play something else like queen takes a6. And the king is not in the square. All right. Thanks, everybody, for all your interesting opinions and so on. A lot of good stuff there. Let's flip the board, and we will presume that they played queen takes a5 against you, okay? The first move is not going to be difficult for you. The second is also simple. I would even claim that the third is simple. But then it gets more complex. All right? Let's see who can get this right. There are some move orders at the very end, so I'll do my best to understand if we understand each other. Okay? You get 1 minute and 30. So careful now when you're playing black here. Very careful. Okay? I'm sorry, Young Jial, Zach Pan, Nicole, and Happy Pon. Slight misunderstanding, I think, if you move the king in that direction. But I might be wrong. Maybe it's the same thing, though. Yeah, I can excuse you for that. For me, it's more logical to move in horizontal way. But I guess it could also be a psychological trick, right? You like triangle with the king. So, okay. Should be okay then, what you're playing. Looks safer to go to g5, but yeah, never mind. Never mind. Most people want to go to that square instead. Let's see. Requiz and... Yeah, bad news for Requiz, Bob Fischer, Oski, and Ararat. That's exactly what happened in the game. Yeah, you were on the right track, but you got the move order wrong. Skilled Saber and Freya, that's okay also. Like we said, there are multiple move orders. So your move order works also. I can only provide one move order. And probably King, Sam, and Jake, your move order works as well. RKDK, that will also work. John Drip, that will also work if you want to put the king on that side. Absolutely no problem. So John Sam and Run Ninja, you have also found it. So yeah, a lot of students got this right. Vish, I think, was one of the fastest, if I get this right. But maybe you should not give up the pawn at the very end. Yeah, we can check with Vish. All right, Vish, you can help us out here. So after queen takes f5, at this stage, white played b4. So white's plan was clear, to create a passed pawn as soon as possible on the a file. Yeah, I think so, Happy Pawn. It just, to me, it looks more natural to go to g5. I don't know. But you're right, of course. If the destination is f5, then, of course, it makes no difference if you go by any of these three squares. So, yeah, maybe you could say it's better because I don't allow them to play king f3. Anyway, so I continue here. I think I will play at this stage a4. Right? And here comes the important move. So in the game, unfortunately, like some of you here, black played king f5. This was not a good idea. This was not a good idea. Anyone? Why is this a bad idea? Aha, John Drip knows all the variations. Please go ahead, John Drip. You'll show us, and then we will come back to Vish. Yeah. Please, John Drip, show us. We don't play the evident move c4, because in that case, black plays c6. We'll soon coming back to this, all right? The right move here, which was found by him in the game, he played b5. I can, of course, not take, right, on b5. Exactly. So I have to play a5 instead. And this is a funny pawn structure, which I must say, honestly, I don't find it very often. We play c4, and we play c5, and look what happened here. Look what happened. This is basically the same thing as if the king was on, sorry, if the pawn was on b6, right? Unfortunately, black cannot do anything here clever because they can never attack this pawn because then the white pawn is running. So it's very easy to win this. It's like a strange protected pass pawn, you could say, about this, right? So that's what happened in the game. But black was very unlucky. Now we go back to Vish. All right, Vish, you're back on track. We play c6. However, if you move everything to the right, you would see, to the left, sorry, you will see that white is winning. All this works only for one reason, which I think, for instance, who was talking in the chat? Somebody was looking up, yeah, John Sam maybe it was. It works only for one reason. Yeah, I play b5. Aha, I take. So in this line, I think we queen, both of us, right? Unfortunately, I don't have I don't have a way to do a skewer in the end. Right. So what I could try instead, trying to be clever, I could play a5 to steal a tempo, you could say, in the pawn race. And I think this is how white pictured the game. That's what they pictured when they were analyzing queen f5. And now, exactly, we move over the king. Black is close to winning now. King d4 is almost winning. No, I'm joking. But white, sooner or later, as you can see, they have to play b5. You can never play c5 because then the king can enter and so on. So I have to play b5 at some stage. And what happened here? White must have been thinking that they would win. Unfortunately, this is a draw, not so much because of the stalemate, but because of the fact that we have an a-pawn left. I hope everybody understands what I'm saying here, right? This is only because this is an a-pawn. I can come closer, but there is absolutely no way in which I can win this. Yeah, this is, they say, even with the least exact play, you could make a draw here with black. But if you take this position and you put it one step to the other side, if you had this instead, you can see that white would win easily, right? There is no stalemate, I think. It's the Harry pawn, exactly, princess. Yeah, now it's an easy win because we can give up the pawn, right? And we win with the b pawn. But in our example, the problem is that we are sitting with an h pawn in the end, with an a pawn in the end. So it was a very bad choice to play this, right? I won't quiz you again because I'll just pick some other student here instead. Let's see. Any volunteer? Somebody who has never picked? Run Ninja. I will pick Run Ninja. Run Ninja is never talking. So Run Ninja, where are you? You disappeared. No, it's of course not an obligation if you don't want to. Chess Crusher. All right. Yeah, I just pick a name in front of me here. All right, Chess Crusher. Continue, please. White seems to be winning the game. However, black is very fast. You have to play this move, stopping b5. And if I play b5, both sides get queens. And if I play a5, we have noticed that we can make a draw here. Yeah, we're seeing it from the wrong color now. Yeah, exactly. So that's good to know. This is a draw, but only because white is sitting with a rook pawn in the end. Nice. Okay. Thanks, Chess Crusher. Yeah, you made a draw here with very precise play. So move orders, you can see, also very important in the endgame, move orders. Let's continue. So maybe you remember I asked you at the first class on this topic if you had any of your own pawn endgame. So how many interesting pawn endgames could you find in your own database? Like in your own games? Anyone? Did you actually check that? At least 5, not too many. 0. That's crazy, Nicole. You have no pawn endgames? I had a bunch of pawn endgames. Some. I had many. Interesting. Yeah, I guess it depends also on which openings you play and things like that. Kasparov was known for not playing so many endgames because he was so effective in the opening. I have some, says Happy Pawn. Aha. So 50% of what? Not of your games, I think. Rook endgames that could be, but certainly not pawn endgames, I think. With Zakpan, you have played the game RKDK. Interesting, maybe 20%. I think in my case, it was like 3% of my games, or 5%. Sometimes also you have, let's say, easily winning pawn endgames. They're not so interesting. They're just a consequence of somebody trading the pieces and they were winning. But like interesting pawn endgames, I didn't have that many. But I had one that I wanted to show you, which I didn't put in any of my books. This is something I never really looked at until now, because I had a look myself. And you played one this week. Oh, interesting. Anyway, so this was one of the games that I was playing. I'm sitting here with the black pieces. So anyone, can you give me like a assessment? It's black to play, by the way. Could anyone give me an assessment of this endgame? No, not the move bishop e6. Yeah, we can talk about that later. But first, I want not a computer evaluation. You don't get my point, RKDK. Better for black, says Brian. Yeah, because you gave us this position. Okay, never mind. So much psychology. Whoever is talking. Yeah. Yeah, don't give me computer evaluations and things like that. Black has chances, yeah. For starters, black has one pass, but yeah. Okay, I can also write, yeah. Black is a pawn up. Don't forget that. Bishop f6 feels nice. Yeah, it feels very nice, targeting the pawn and so on. So, yeah, who knows? Black is a pawn up, and you can also see that they have managed to fix the pawns on the color of white's bishop now, which is good news for black. Okay, so the big question here, of course, is how should we then continue? If you play bishop f6, for instance, a question, are you winning this pawn or you're not winning the pawn? Any opinion? Not. Bishop d4. That's very dangerous. If that's your variation, I would say this is not recommendable. You're going for a pawn endgame, a pawn down, and black has two reserve waiting moves. This must be extremely easy to win. King e5, d4, I would guess, no? Okay, we will come to that, John Drift. You like to analyze and share variations and so on, but maybe we should be careful about that for the benefit of everyone else. So exactly, when white plays bishop, black plays bishop e2, white could try to trap the bishop, right? But for that to happen, we must not let the bishop get out, correct? So we could play something like bishop e3. Bishop d4 would be like in Ding's game. No, but this is probably worse, Happy Pawn. This is worse mistake, bishop d4 here. More evident mistake than in Ding's game. So here you can see one idea that white could toy with, right? Something like that. Like Fischer Spassky. We talked about Spassky. You remember when Fischer took on h2? A little like that, but on the other side, right? So anyway, yeah, we can consider this idea. Maybe we can prepare it, no? Did you play bishop e6 and draw? You're asking two things at the same time. Maybe I did one of these and not the other, or something like that. We will come to that. Okay, I won't torture you. Yeah, I'm black in this game. Yeah, Karayanis with white, player from Greece. This was like 20 years ago. Some open tournament in Greece. Yeah, beautiful country and very nice chess tournaments. If you have a chance to go to Europe, try to visit Greece. That's one of the places I would recommend you to visit and try to play a few tournaments. They have a nice chess culture in that country. Anyway, I played bishop e6 in the game. You're right. I was thinking I'm a pawn up. I did some calculation also. I can see that I'm targeting this pawn sometimes. And you're playing now with white. So let's do the quiz. All right, let's do the quiz. It's a tricky exercise because it has many things, this endgame. But we will try to do it in the simplest way possible, all right? The simplest way. I can only provide you with one correct answer. I think this will be enough. You get 1 minute and 30, okay? Don't get angry if it says you're wrong. You might be right anyway, okay? Should white go for the endgame or they should not? Yeah, if you play like that, RKDK and Zach Pan and Nicole, I go king c6, of course. But we can continue from there. RKDK, Zach Pan, Nicole, Freya, Santos. It's okay. We can look into it. I will use one spare move there. I will play b6. Okay? I'll play b6 after you put the king on e5. And then you will have to see what's your plan. Yeah, don't play that, John Gial, Oski, and Fianchetto. I still have my spare tempo, right? I can take and play g5 and it's bye-bye. Yeah, that you must certainly not play. John Drip, I think that might also work. I would go king d6, right? We will have to comment on that. Lily and Dada Apple and Requis, I think you're on the right track. I would play d5, d3 in that position. d3, king takes d3, king d5, as you can imagine. No? Ararat, fantastic. You found the whole variation. Very nice. Fortunately, my opponent did not play like that. All right. Anyone else who's close? The tricky thing is that those of you who played king d4 on move 2, you can also make a draw. I just thought that Ararat's way of playing was a bit simpler. Very nice that you found the last move. Only move, right? You calculated extremely well. So hats off to Ararat. Please show us. We will come to that, Santos. Don't worry. We will come to that. Please notice, even if computers say that move A and B are both 0.0, just for everybody to be on the same page. these can have a different practical value, right? Practical value. One can be easier to play and the other more difficult. Anyway, let's check Ararat's variation, and I'll try to cover the sub variations also. So what white did here, they are going instantly to take this pawn, then they are coming back, and finally they are getting ready to push the passed pawn. This is not the only way to play. You can also play king d4. Let's come back to that, okay? This is what my opponent played, by the way, in the game. But Ararat's variation is, in my opinion, more logical, because we are trying to put the king on f4 and take the pawn. If black plays g5, you can see two problems. Can anyone tell me two problems with g5 for black? Two bad sides about it? We will come to that, Santos. Please be a little patient. Black wasted tempo. Well, not really, no, because white's you took away king f4 from them. You exactly. Can King Sam and Happy Pawn, you and Nicole, you used up one waiting move. And then the other difference is that if the pawns are arranged like this, if white would actually take both of them, they need more time. While if the pawns are glued together, you can take them faster, right? So anyway, all right, if you like, you can show us what you thought about this position. Not very difficult to make a draw now. So my only chance here would be to sack the pawn to bring in my king. But this will not work, because even if I have a spare tempo, I cannot enter, right? Sometimes the pawn structure leads to this, if you see what I mean. There is no way black can enter, because the pawn structure doesn't allow it. It would be insane to play king f5 and lose the game, right? Coach, wait. What should I wait for? Not much time to wait here. So b6 instead. Sorry, you want to play b6 instead. You want to play b6 where? Here. I think you go king f5, and then you do like dribbling in soccer. No, if you play soccer, you know what I mean. You go this way, and when I push the pawn, no way. Oh, you went that way. I thought you would go this way, Ararat, but maybe I'm wrong. Oh, maybe I'm lost now. d3. But you can play maybe king e3, right? If you want to, I guess. Right? Does that make sense, or not too much sense? Or maybe I can also take the pawn. I think I can play king e3, king d6, king d2, king. I'm making some kind of. Can you take the opposition here? King e6. All right, I go. Oh, I see your point. You're going for king e3 when I can't go king. Oh, good point. So I think Arad was actually right and I was wrong. This seems like I'm lost now. I'm suddenly lost in this endgame. Unless I can. Yeah, this must be completely lost if you can go that way. And the other way, what do we get here now? Now it's getting a little complex. Anyone who is good with calculation? It smells like a draw to me, but I might be wrong. Draw, right? King b3, king f5. I guess we take this pawn, and we don't spend time on taking the other pawn, right? Do we? Or we can take that pawn also. We can maybe take that pawn also. Yeah, looks like it's going to end in a draw, right? And we run with the pawn. They queen before us, but yeah. King e5 instead of king e6. But if I were, yeah, I think you're right, Riquis, that you could also play h4. But I think even in this case, we end up. In this case, I actually get an extra pawn, right? Maybe you don't want this. Exactly, John Drips. This was not necessary. This king subtle move, king non-capture was not necessary. We could just have taken from the very beginning. Here, I mean, we could just have taken instantly. As long as we understand that we should go and take these pawns, no? I think. Also, it's logical, right? If you should choose which side to go, you will of course say, I should go for these pawns, because if black goes for those pawns, this pawn is faster because it's on the fourth rank, no, or something. No need to go after pawn. Oh, really? I didn't understand that. How could you wait in this position? No need to go after pawns. King e4. No need to go after pawns. I don't understand that. This can never win, never work, right? I play king a4, or what am I missing? And Tuxwang, or yeah, this will certainly not work. Yeah, no problem. So tricky endgame, but not that tricky. We should go back to to Ararat now. So Ararat says we go king e3 to take the pawn. I will come back with my king now. Yeah, please continue, Ararat. So this is the most straightforward plan. Important to understand that white should not just sit and wait. White should play actively. But for that, you need to calculate also, which Ararat did in this example. So I bring in the king. So I'll try to bring the king here so I can queen. But of course, white won't let me. And now, do me a favor, Ararat. I will just take the pawn from you. I want to ask everybody here, except Ararat, after king b3, how would you say? What should white play? What move should white make and why? In this position. You can certainly not play h4. Guys, you need to do more endgames. Don't take it personally, but you need to do more endgames. If you don't see that I'm going to play king c2, then we have a problem. Happy Pawn said something about flexibility, and you're actually right, Happy Pawn. This is a smart move because we have two plans at the same time. But you need to understand that this is the big threat. Don't say h4. More endgame training, please. So, don't say king d3 and king d2. In chess, you're only allowed to play one move at a time. So, no multiple choices here. King d3, king d2. Okay, to make this a little simpler. Yeah, bravo, RKDK. Just as Ararat, maybe other students said the same thing. But you provide us the comments. RKDK says, look what they say. Here we are. I'll copy the comment from RKDK. Future chess coach, RKDK, who can even explain the moves. King d2, we don't want them to queen with check. Queen with check? Oh, the b pawn. The b pawn is running, right? So don't put your king on d3 or on d1. In that case, the pawn will check, right? The b pawn. Back to Ararat. I think everybody understood this now. Please continue, Ararat. I just wanted us to be on the same page. So king d2. I cannot do anything with this pawn anymore, of course. So it's time to run with my other pawn. Please notice candidate first. Candidate first. Yeah, I won't check a knight, Santos. Very funny. Candidate first. Please don't don't play. Don't break my heart playing g4, please. Yeah, h4. All right. Let's continue. And now I have to make a choice here. White is about to queen. I need to see where should I put my king. Aha. Yeah, you can continue, Ararat, if you like. We play g4. So let's say I put my king on. Yeah, if I go this way, I'm going to receive a lot of checks. So I will go this way instead. I will go this way only by for educative reasons. Yeah, you'll see. You wanted me to go to c4. This is, I think, a losing mistake, right, Nicole? Don't do that. Or it doesn't matter. I thought maybe you would queen with check then. Isn't that serious, Nicole? If I play g5 and I queen with check? Very careful, very careful. I have a chapter about this in my endgame book. Yeah, don't put the king on c4, exactly a pawn. Past pawn races. Extremely interesting topic. Maybe I only have like 7 or 8 examples in that chapter, but it's very, very entertaining. Many things can happen once 2 pawns check. Please continue, Ararat. I played king a3. For some reason, a pawn always queens with check in most endgames. Interesting, John Drip. Interesting comment. Or I can pick some other student. Who else was? RKDK, I think was. No, Ararat is back on track. So look at this. It's a very interesting variation. Yeah, let's speed up, Ararat. Let's speed up. And once you have queened, we will make a short stop. Yeah, okay. You can rest now, Ararat. Yeah, excellent work. I can play out these moves. They're not very difficult. Once you get to this position, only one move will make a draw with king c4 works. Okay, we will come back here. Don't get angry, request. Don't get angry. So anyone, only exactly Titan says, only drawing move. That's right, Brian. Not particularly difficult now, but it's good for everybody to see. As for our topic now, what do you say? Mind territory, the minefield. Don't enter the minefield. Yeah, this is a win, right? Queen b4, or I think even queen b2 could make a draw, perhaps. In either case, our king is well placed to win the game here, right? Sorry, like that. So Brian is right. White has to play queen a8, and after that, I will have to play like that. This could actually be winning for white, but it's not. I have queen a2. I don't get mated in this case. So, all right. Do we understand this? That's the reason why we have to put the king on d2, so that it doesn't get checked. If you play king d3, which is the human move, I would say, like the more evident move, at least, the more intuitive move, maybe. You can see it's a completely different story, because black will then queen with check, and most likely white is lost in this endgame, because we can't take the pawn, right? Yeah, certainly not. Skewer on b2, exactly. Queen b2. And if they play something else, yeah, black will, usually in these endgames, what you do first, you try to put your queen on the good square. And then you try to get some space for the king and so on. Yeah, black should be winning with 2 pawns. So for that reason, we should put the king on d2 instead. And we can make a draw. Now, okay, now I will attend this matter with king c4. That you were saying that this was still a draw. Oh, I see. You can go back with the king. Sorry, guys. I have forgotten this completely. The king is actually, black is winning in that situation. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, we can't do that. So I would have to play like this instead. I see. Very good point. I think the reason why I picked this line was that in this other... yeah, good job, Nicole. But even so, careful now with the checks when they queen. I think the reason why I didn't like this line was that white would have more checks, because I can't hide my king. But yeah, maybe that was a silly consideration now, but this looks like it's easier to make a draw, right? No way black's king can hide somewhere. No, there is no way to hide. No, I don't think this is winning either. Aha. White wins. No, not depending on if black blunders the skewer, if that's what you mean. King cannot go on the b file. Yeah, exactly. White wins? Really? Since you're saying this, I need to double check, but I would be very surprised if white were winning 2 points down in the queen endgame. But okay. Stranger things have happened in chess history. If I play king d5, how can you possibly win this position? King c2. What king c2? King c2. Oh, earlier. All right. Sorry, you had king c2 here. Sorry, guys. I got obsessed by pushing the pawn. Of course, you're right. That's how you win it. Maybe that's the reason why we should put the king on on a3 then. Aha. Or on... How did this happen, by the way? Yeah, that was very strange. King a3, like pawn endgame. Exactly. Anyway, so we have seen a variation where white can make a draw. We will go back to the very beginning now. It's like this. Black played bishop b6 in the game. And as Ararat showed us, the easiest way for white to make a draw was to go and take the pawn. However, please notice the practical difficulty. If your opponent is... They have many choices now. They have a few different ideas here. If they're that low on time and so on, it's not impossible that they go wrong. For instance, they have to understand in the first place that they can make a draw here. They certainly have to see that they must put the king on d2, right? In this variation. Somebody could even claim that they have to see the queen a8 check at the very end. So, but can we look at king e3 back to d3 instead of f4 should hold, right? What are we talking about now? King e3 instead of f4. So you're saying that we should play what? King d3 here. That's very risky. What can I say? How could this be a draw? I don't understand at all. I have 2 waiting moves. But this is not hard calculation. I think I have one extra tempo, and I will still win this, right? Or what are we saying here? Please don't forget, if you can make time with the king is the best. The king is the best executor of the waiting moves. If you can use the king instead, it's much better, of course. Here you don't need any spare moves with the pawns because you have the king already, right? So that will never work. If we go back to the very beginning here, king d4 was proposed by some people here, but this is not working. Anyone? What would black play here? g5. Thanks, Young GL and John Dripper. g5. That's a typical case where you have to make the waiting move with a pawn. So that's completely impossible to play king d4. Now the other line was king d4 that some people were saying. So I'm happy to give you half a point for king d4. That's what my opponent played in the game. I played king c6, he played king e5, and something very interesting happens here. Let's ask you something tricky. What did it mean? What did it mean in the other line that queen a8 was an important resource for white. You know what I mean? The line that we looked at, the line which was like this, the check on A8, everybody remembers? What might that mean at this point? Or nobody understands what I'm trying to say? No problem, no problem. I don't follow. Okay, no problem at all. We have two candidate moves, right? We could go G5 and we could go B6. So in the game, I played the move G5, but I think that I should have played, even if I won the game, I think I should have played B6 instead. So let's pick a student here. We will pick Princess, since you just talked. Princess, you take the black pieces now, okay? Oh, I gave it to Greg Shahadi. Good to see you, Greg. I didn't mean to bother you with that. Princess, I take the white pieces now, and you take the black pieces. So try to win this with black. Let's see what happens. Okay, just follow your intuition, Princess. Don't feel too much pressure on your shoulders, okay? No, then we got it wrong. Sorry, be a little more, how can I say, active. Exactly. All right, just copy the previous variation. Please remember, everyone, now the pawn is on B6. Let's see what happens now. Oh, Oski, you understood, right? I get it. That's music to my ears. Wait a little. Don't play that. Oh, sorry. No, it's your move. Yeah, please continue. King B3, flexibility, right? We threatened to play King C2, and we threatened to take the pawn. We concluded that the king has to go to D2, so it's not checked. I think everybody's understanding now what's going on here, right? Aha. Now I need to start running. And look what will happen in the end. Why king takes D4? Why not? King E4, not... Yeah, anyway, let's check this first, and we will come back, okay? We will come back. I told you it was a tricky endgame. I told you it was very tricky. Many things happening in this endgame. I'm not sure I still... Exactly. Oski. So, yeah, I can speed up a little. We had this last time, right? We had this last time. But look what happened now. There is a small difference, right? Or maybe not so small. You're right. So actually this, I think it's lost for white. This position turned out to be lost. But you need to be a little precise. Yeah, we can conclude again, I cannot take the pawn due to queen b4. I cannot check because of queen b4. When I play queen a8, you're right, RKDK, this is bad. Yeah, where would the king go? Exactly, happy pawn. The pawn has moved. We can't take it anymore. The king goes to b2. And here there is only one winning move. After queen c6, I think there is only one winning move. Anyone? What's the black play here? Hint, try not to get checked. Titan chess, perfect. Skilled saber, John Drip and so on. Nicole, king a1, exactly. In this way, we make sure that if they check us, we can check them. So, I don't know. I remember the computer was saying that this was completely winning. I don't know how easy it is at the board. But certainly black has something to play for here, right? The queen can come back, and then we can get back the king, maybe. So you see how tricky this endgame is. I should have played b6. Now, there was some comment here. The whole example is complex because both sides have different plans all the time. This is what you were saying. Why not go back with the king? So then we come back to the other variation, right? Then you would play d3 and bring in the king. Aren't we back in the same line, or it's a different thing? No, now you have an extra pawn. Now you get the other endgame. Yeah. Anyone? This draws easily. Easily? Really? RKDK? Okay, you get the white pieces. RKDK gets the white pieces. Please continue, RKDK. Let's see how easy this is. Don't forget that even if the computer says it's drawn, human-wise, it might not be so easy. Like rook versus... oh, we have somebody playing here. Princess is moving. Yeah, okay, Princess. I'll drink my coffee and you play black's pieces. I'll put all my money on Princess here. No, I think so. I'll bet my money on Princess. Look what will happen. Nicole, we were talking about this, right? When you queen with check and that stuff. You see? You got tricked, RKDK. It wasn't that simple, okay? Don't take the pawn. That's what I told you. Everybody understood, right? Sorry to interrupt, but everybody understood what happens here, right? White runs, but black queens with check in the end. Yeah. We don't need to see this at the board, right? So that's what I was saying. I made a mistake in the game, at least practical mistake, when I played g5. But I had something in mind, and I was in time trouble and so on. But it would have been smarter to play b6, because in this case, the pawns, they can't be taken instantly, right? And also it had this other, I didn't have an idea about that, of course, this queen a8 variation. Anyway, so back to what we were looking at. So you were saying that king e4 was an easy draw. It is a draw, but I don't think it's easy, okay? I don't think it's a simple draw. So not exactly RKDK. You want a new chance? Okay, please play RKDK, but quickly so we can continue, all right? Let's do this fast. So don't use the king for, push the pawn instead, exactly. But I think everybody knows what will happen here, right? Both sides will queen, but there will be one difference in this position in the very end. You see? Okay. So here we can stop, right? Perfect. Yeah, and you can play one move here. Just exactly, queen g1 or whatever you like. So question, how easy is this to draw? I know the engine says it's a draw, but how easy is that in practice? Like so, no? 99% easy. Okay, Santos, you must be an endgame expert. I don't find it easy at all. A lot of pitfalls. Of course, the pawn has not advanced too much, but basically blacks should try to put the queen somewhere in the center or close to the center and push the pawn. So, yeah, I don't say it's impossible either. No, it depends on your endgame skills. I just say I don't want to be in this situation. It's like if you take if you take this endgame, I think this one is the best example. I never had this endgame in my life, fortunately. Maybe you had it. I have a few ideas how to make a draw with black, but I have seen very strong players blow this with defending side. Now, it is a draw if you ask the computer, but it's, oh, I drew an FM with this. Oh, nice. I hope you had the rook, though, not the rook and bishop. I can also draw an FM if I have the rook and bishop. This is a nightmare. That's what I would think also. So you see, one thing is I can draw this. Okay. Theoretical draw is one thing, and the practical draw, that's something else. Anyway, back to my never-ending endgame here. Back to this tricky endgame. So bishop e6 was played in the game. We have seen now white's most straightforward way to the win was to go with the king quickly. He played king d4 and king e5. And I should have played b6 to make it harder for him to take the pawns. In that case, white's best will be to take the endgame with queen and pawn versus queen. However, I played g5 in the game instead. And he continued here. Now we get the last part of the game. So now it's a draw, but you need to be careful with white. He played now king f5. And you can guess my move, right? Yeah, not so difficult. Maybe. Yeah, Oski chess. All right, Oski, you will take the black pieces from here. So d4, and my opponent made a huge mistake here. He took on g4. He should never have done that. So how do you continue from here, Oski? King first, right? And I think he was perhaps even thinking that he was winning. But one little thing, yeah, if you play like that, you can play that also, sure. But there is one little thing you need to do here, right? To win the game. Exactly, Sarthak, yeah. So g4, one pawn stops two. White can resign. In the game, I played it one move earlier. I played g4 here. But it doesn't make a big difference now. I just saw that in this line, I would queen with check. So that's how the game ended. You see how many mistakes now? How many mistakes? Of course, his mistake in this game, after king f5, d4. By now, you know what white should play, right? I'll pick somebody who hasn't talked today. Let's see. Titan chess. You can show us, Titan. Yeah. How would you make a draw here with the white pieces? Very quickly. So we can finish off this topic. King takes d4. Really? Didn't we just say that's a losing mistake? Because black gets d4. Or you had something planned here, maybe. Interesting. I think there is another detail. By the way, if white goes h4, are you still there, Oski? Oski, you can show us. How do you win with black here? I think many of you can see this quickly, right? Typical tactic in this kind of endgame. You have the skewer in the end, right? King e4. I would maybe play it one move later, no? Maybe this is possible here, Oski. What do you think? No, it's not. You're right. You can just queen with check. Yeah, perfect. You're right. Yeah, I was seeing the other line, like takes and... Oh, I'm being stupid here. Sorry, guys. I was thinking I would do this and take the queen, but we don't need to. Yeah, we just queen with check. Yeah, very, very stupid. I should drink more coffee. So, yeah, always lead to Rome here, it seems. But with white, please don't take the pawn, right? We said this was a bad idea. So, would you like a new chance? Or Sarthak, maybe? Sarthak, you can show us then. Where is Sarthak? Sarthak, how do you make a draw here with white? King e4, exactly. Yeah, you're bored with this endgame now. You don't want to see it anymore. But by now we know the story. Yeah, some of these endgames, if you don't go for the... You could say, if you don't go for the pawn race, there is no chance, right? That's, I think, is the takeaway. You have to calculate. Don't get lazy and you don't want to calculate. You have to calculate the pawn race. We saw this already. This time it's even easier because the pawns are glued together. So you can just take both of them and you make a draw. This time it's an even easier draw. So that's what my opponent should have done. Yeah, now you can see for yourself. It's gonna end. Wait a little, I put my king on the wrong side. I got tricked by Sarthak, I think, here. Oh, horror. I have to go to the other side. Yeah, sorry, Sarthak. Now, very careful, don't go to c3 because I get checked. So I'd rather put my king on c4. Yeah. All right, Sarthak. Now I think I can make a draw with you, if not mistaken. So this would be like the optimal result, maybe. Both sides queen and both sides keep a pawn. But you can see how many tricky parts there was in this endgame, right? Very, very tricky. So in the end, was it right or wrong to play bishop e6? Well, we can't answer Minefield, certainly. We can't, how do you say? We can't establish whether trading is right or wrong without checking other options, right? You can't just say, okay, bishop e6 is a bad choice because it's a theoretical draw, or good choice because you get practical chances. You can't say like that. You have to investigate the alternative. So anyone? Alternative? Some plan for black here? We were talking a little about it, right? Bishop f6 has tighten. Yeah, so we talked about this move. Somebody said bishop d4. Please don't say that again. You can't trade bishops in that kind of position. Please notice the difference with our variations. Here, no way white will ever get the chance to take the pawn because black's king is coming also. So white would have to wait. We said something like this, bishop e3. And if black goes to take the pawn, white would try to do something like this, right? And trap the bishop. Okay. Bishop d4 is worse than... Yeah, it's worse than Ding's game, sure. Yeah, sorry, Pop Fisher. I mean, I like your comment, but you can't feel too much. We can't feel too much in pawn endgames. So ask me because I'm not scoring very well in pawn endgames because it's very much about calculation and it was never my strongest side. So don't feel too much. That's my piece of advice. Calculate instead, okay? Ararat says bishop c7. All right, Ararat, I'm not sure exactly what's your plan here. You can get Ararat, you can get the black pieces here. Show us your plan then, Ararat. How are you gonna win this? Bishop e5. Okay, so I'm waiting only for you, right? I'll put my bishop. I'll put the bishop here then, yeah, just in case. But there is something missing here. Nobody's talking about the one part of the story here. There is, yeah, now it came. You see, of course, don't forget the king. You could ask yourself, don't forget the king. You could ask yourself the following: from which square is the black king? Is the black king the closest to white's camp? How close can you get to white's camp? You could ask yourself. All right. While you're thinking about that, we can continue moving the pieces. So this is exactly the right approach. And I think many of us, what we would simply say is, even if we don't know if it's winning or not, it can't be wrong to put the king on f5. Regardless of the actual result, this just has to be good for us now, because we're a little closer now. So, all right, you can say that white is in some kind of zugzwang. The king needs to control this square. The bishop supposedly needs to control that square. From these two evils, I will opt for the latter. No, I will play something like bishop d2. So now black can play bishop e2, but then I could try king c2. Look what happened now. Bishop down. And if I play king c2, you can probably go and take my pawn now, right? Aha. But there was an even smarter plan, I think. Yeah, you can go take pawn. So allow me to correct myself. I don't know. I will play bishop e3 instead. So you can't do that, okay? And now, there are a few different ways of winning, but let's see. I had this in the game. Believe it or not, I had this and I did all that because I couldn't calculate the final part. Okay? So, yeah, let's say Happy Pawn, for instance, it seems, and Santos and so on, Titan says, yeah, many of you are